He appeared in the doorway like a ghost no one had invited. 12 years old, bruised, exhausted, and standing in the one place no kid in their right mind would dare to enter. The Rust Fangs biker clubhouse fell silent as every tattooed head lifted. Every conversation froze mid-sentence, and even the jukebox seemed to choke itself quiet. The boy didn't flinch, didn't run, didn't ask for help. He asked for something that stunned men who had survived wars, prison fights, and life's cruelest blows. He asked, in a steady voice too young to sound that tired, "Can I work here? If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unexpected heroes, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Loom. It helps us keep bringing stories like this to life." The door shut behind the boy with a heavy thud, and in the lingering silence he looked impossibly small in that gray hoodie swallowing his thin frame. His sneakers were patched with duct tape, the kind of repair made when you don't know if you'll get another pair. His cheek bore a spreading bruise, dark, ugly, and fresh, and still he stood there like he belonged. The clubhouse smelled like motor oil, cigarette smoke layered from decades, and the faint hum of bad decisions. This was not a place for a child, not a place for innocence. Yet something about the boy's posture, stiff but determined, made even the hardest men in that room pause. A few bikers laughed, brushing him off as some lost kid too scared to admit he took a wrong turn. But Keller, the club's sergeant-at-arms, a former Marine with a scar down his jaw that looked carved by war itself, studied the boy with a gaze that had read men on battlefields. He saw no desperation. He saw grit, shame, determination welded to survival instincts no child should ever need. When Keller asked his name, the boy said, "Noah, Noah Collins." And that answered more questions than the kid intended. Keller knew that house. Everyone whispered about the Henderson foster home. Nothing proven, nothing reported, but all of it felt wrong. When Keller gently confronted him about the bruise, Noah lied so poorly it hurt to hear. Something about a bike accident, a fall, the kind of lie kids tell when the truth is dangerous. Keller didn't push. Not yet. Instead, he made Noah sit on the battered couch while he checked for work. The truth was, Keller spent 2 hours making calls, piecing together enough information to confirm what that bruise already told him. Noah wasn't falling. Noah was being pushed. Still, when Keller returned, Noah hadn't moved, hadn't complained, hadn't asked for anything except a chance. That mattered. Keller offered him $10 an hour, 3 days a week. Real work, real rules. And Noah accepted with a quiet "yes, sir," like someone afraid it might vanish if he spoke too loudly. The boy nearly made it out the door before Keller called after him and said the words flatly. That bruise didn't come from a bike. Noah's face turned to stone, mask back on. Keller didn't push. He simply said, "See you Tuesday." And Noah came. Early. Every time he swept the garage like he was trying to scrub himself into existence. Lucky, a wiry mechanic with grease embedded into his skin and a heart far softer than he pretended, tested him with sorting bolts and washers. To his surprise, Noah arranged them with military precision, with pride, with a hunger to be useful, to matter. Lucky began teaching him about engines, watching the boy's eyes light up for the first time since he arrived. The bikers started noticing little things. How Noah ate slowly, like food was something you didn't waste. How he never raised his voice. How he apologized for taking up space. How he stood too still when adults argued. Signs they all recognized, because some of them had been that kid once. Moose Joe, a mountain of a man with grief carved into his bones from losing his own son to an overdose and a broken system, took special interest. He walked Noah home, noticing how the boy's entire body shrank the closer they got to that yellow house with the leaning fence. When he stopped one house away and offered Noah a card with the garage's number, Noah looked at it like it was a lifeboat thrown into a storm he thought he was meant to drown in. When asked why they were helping, Joe said the simplest truth. Because you asked for work instead of a handout. People with guts deserve people who've got their back. But kindness has a way of drawing shadows out. 3 weeks later, the clubhouse door slammed open and Clive Henderson stormed in, alcohol and rage dripping off him. Noah froze. Lucky stepped between them. Keller stood his ground. The bikers didn't threaten, they didn't need to. Their silence was warning enough. Clive tried dragging Noah home early, spewing excuses about chores and responsibilities, but Keller pushed back harder. Gently at first, then with the full force of a man who had seen too many children broken by the people meant to protect them. The confrontation ended with Clive storming out, but everyone in that garage knew it wasn't over. That night, the Rust Fangs began documenting everything. Every bruise, every flinch, every injury Noah tried to hide. Joe followed Noah home again, watching Clive pacing inside with a bottle in hand. They knew the system moved slow, too slow, and a kid like Noah didn't have time. Then fate delivered a missing piece. Tina, the club's longtime cook, revealed an old employee file for a woman named Emma Collins, a young mother who vanished 20 years earlier, leaving behind a newborn son named Noah. No belongings, no explanation, no investigation. The implications hit Keller like a freight train. Noah hadn't been found. He'd been taken. The missing mother, the quiet boy, the unchecked foster home, the constant moves, the bruises, the lies. Keller called in every favor he had. Molina, a CPS worker who still believed children deserved protection, fast-tracked Noah's case. The evidence was damning. Clive had taken Noah as an infant and kept him hidden in the cracks of the system, collecting checks while hiding behind paperwork no one ever looked closely at. The emergency hearing came faster than anyone expected. Joe arrived to pick Noah up at dawn. The boy trembled on the back of the motorcycle, unsure, scared, but clinging to the small truth Joe had given him. For once, he had a choice to the courthouse. Noah sat straight, spoke clearly, and told the truth with the steady courage of someone who had carried too much alone. When asked where he wanted to live, he glanced at Joe in the back row, at the bikers who had stood with him, at the men who had given him purpose. He said, "With them. They're the only ones who ever gave me a chance." The judge didn't hesitate. Noah Collins was removed from Clive's custody immediately. A criminal investigation was opened. Clive was escorted out screaming, but Noah never turned around. The Rust Fangs built Noah a bedroom inside the clubhouse. Fresh paint, warm blankets, motorcycle posters, a toolbox labeled with his name. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't perfect. But it was his place where no one yelled, no one hit, no one made him feel small. That night, the club gathered for a small celebration. They lifted their drinks to the boy who walked into their lives asking for work, and who ended up giving them something far more valuable. A purpose they didn't know they still had. Later, Joe found Noah sitting on the front steps, staring at the stars, wondering aloud if they'd ever find out what really happened to his mother. Joe wrapped an arm around him and promised they'd try. And whatever they found, Noah wouldn't face it alone. Inside, Noah's drawings were on the fridge. His homework was pinned on the corkboard. His tools waited in the garage. The system hadn't saved him, people had. People who saw him, chose him, fought for him. Because sometimes family isn't something you're born into. Sometimes it's something you walk toward, bruised and afraid, hoping someone will hold out their hand. If the story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Loom. Your support helps us continue telling stories that prove kindness can change lives. Before you go, comment where you're watching from so we can appreciate you personally. Thank you for being here.